All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. If you're someone who loves to skip the fluff and get right down to the nitty-gritty of incredible new tech, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're doing a highly structured spec-by-spec breakdown of a genuinely groundbreaking device that just launched over in China. Get ready because we are doing a complete chapter-wise review of the brand new Honor robot phone.
But before we get totally lost in the specs, I want to pose a question to you. Is this actually the end of the smartphone tripod? I mean, if you've ever tried to shoot a vlog, record a presentation, or honestly just film yourself moving around without it looking like an earthquake, you absolutely know the struggle. You either have to rope in a friend with unbelievably steady hands, or you end up lugging around a bulky tripod and some heavy motorized gimbal. But what if your phone just physically handled the whole shebang for you?
Well, the solution here is literally built right into the device. The Honor robot phone actually features a pop-out robotic gimbal camera mounted directly on top. And to be clear, this isn't just some clever software trickery cropping your video. This is a physical motorized camera module that actually pops out and rotates to track subjects while you're recording. You literally just set the phone down and you can record completely hands-free. It uses AI to ensure that you, or whatever subject you're filming, stays perfectly dead center in the frame. It's an absolute game changer in smartphone engineering, and honestly, it completely defines what this phone is built to do. So here is our chapter-wise roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, the robotic gimbal. Number 2, display and design. Number 3, under the hood. And finally, number 4, pricing and verdict. Let's jump right in to chapter 1, the robotic gimbal. When you look under the hood of this rotating module, you realize pretty quickly that it isn't just a basic hinge. It is a highly complex 3-axis mechanical gimbal system engineered straight into a mobile form factor. As the camera module pops out and starts rotating, these tiny internal gears and motors are constantly talking to the phone's AI-based tracking. So as you move left, right, up, or down, the mechanical axis physically pivots the lens to follow you. It's perfectly smooth and virtually eliminates the need for any external stabilization accessories. Of course, the best mechanical gimbal in the world doesn't mean much without great optics, right? Well, Honor packed a literal triple rear camera powerhouse into this thing. The primary camera boasts a staggering 200 megapixels on a massive 1.128-inch CMOS sensor with an f1.6 aperture. That means it is sucking in a ton of light for incredibly crisp nighttime video. But wait, they didn't stop there. They threw in a second 200 megapixel camera, this one a periscope telephoto pushing 2.7x optical zoom and a mind-blowing up to 200x digital zoom for super tight shots from way far out. Rounding out the back is a 50 megapixel ultra-wide with a 122-degree field of view. And for standard front-facing stuff, you get a solid 50 megapixel selfie cam with a 90-degree field of view. So the real takeaway here is that this hardware was custom designed for serious pro-level video production. Honor actually partnered up with the legendary cinema camera brand ARRI for this launch, and the video specs absolutely back that up. The rear camera system can shoot up to 4K video at a buttery-smooth 120 frames per second. Even the front camera can handle 4K at 60 FPS. When you blend ARRI's world-class color science with 4K at 120 FPS and a mechanical 3-axis gimbal, you are basically carrying a pocket-sized cinematic powerhouse. Moving right along to Chapter 2, Display and Design. Now, if you are out there shooting all of this gorgeous 4K footage, you need an exceptional screen to actually see what you're doing. 6,800, I want you to just pause and process that number for a second. That is the peak HDR brightness of this phone's display in nits. 6,800 nits. To put that into perspective, most of today's premium flagship phones peak at around 2,000 nits. This display is designed to be blindingly bright. Even if you're shooting in the harshest, most direct midday sunlight, you'll have absolutely zero problem framing your shots or reviewing your footage. And backing up all that raw brightness is a really gorgeous 6.31-inch OLED display. It rocks a high resolution of 1216 by 2640 pixels, which translates to a super crisp 460 pixels per inch. Plus, keeping the whole experience feeling incredibly fluid as you navigate around the Magic OS interface, it's got a 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate. Aesthetically, the phone comes in 2 sleek colors, translated from their Chinese launch names as Moon Shadow Gray and Star Trail Silver. Now, we do have to talk about the physical footprint because housing a motorized robotic arm does take up some space. It's about 9.59 millimeters thick and weighs in at roughly 248 grams. So yeah, it's a bit of a premium brick in your pocket, but when you remember it's hiding a literal robotic arm inside, it's actually an astonishingly compact package.
All right, let's look at Chapter 3, Under the Hood. Pushing a 120Hz screen, processing 4K 120 FPS video, and physically moving a 3-axis robotic motor requires some heavy lifting in the processing department. To handle all that, they've packed in the cutting-edge octa-core Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chipset paired up with an Adreno 840 GPU. Memory-wise, we're talking up to 16 gigabytes of incredibly fast LPDDR5X RAM and a massive 1 terabyte of internal storage. So you have plenty of room for those huge 4K video files without the phone ever breaking a sweat. And it's all running smoothly on the dual SIM Honor Magic OS X platform.
Of course, physically moving robotic parts and lighting up a 6,800 nit screen is going to drain a ton of power. To counter that, Honor stuffed a truly colossal 7,060 mAh battery into this chassis. And when you do finally manage to drain it, getting back up to speed is fast. It supports up to 120-watt wired charging, 50-watt wireless charging, and it even offers wireless reverse charging if you need to quickly juice up your earbuds or help out a friend whose phone is dying.
Rounding out the internals is a really robust connectivity suite. You've got 5G, the ultra-fast Wi-Fi 7 standard, Bluetooth 6.0, and NFC. They even kept the classic infrared remote control, which is always fun to see. Crucially, for vloggers out there, it features stereo speakers and 4 distinct microphones with AI noise reduction, making sure your audio is just as clean and stable as your video. Finally, you get a super fast 3D ultrasonic fingerprint sensor for security, alongside your standard array of sensors and an X-axis linear motor for haptics. Which brings us to our final stop, Chapter 4, Pricing and Verdict. So the million-dollar question, what does it actually cost to have a robotic cameraman living in your pocket? Currently launched in China, the pricing is broken into 2 premium tiers. The base model, which still nets you a very impressive 12 gigs of RAM and 512 gigs of storage, comes in at 9,999 Chinese yuan. That translates to roughly 1,41,000 Indian rupees. Now, if you want the absolute maxed out version with 16 gigs of RAM and the full terabyte of storage, you're looking at 12,999 yuan, or about 1,83,000 rupees. There's no getting around it. That is a highly premium price tag. But then again, this is a highly premium, totally first of its kind device. And that leaves us with one final provocative thought. We've just gone through the crazy specs, the dual 200-megapixel sensors, the ARRI cinema partnership, the massive 7,060 mAh battery, and of course that wild 3-axis mechanical tracking camera. But now I have to pass the question back to you. Is a mechanical pop-out gimbal the true future of mobile content creation? Is this going to set a new benchmark that every other brand has to scramble to follow? Or is it destined to remain a very cool but very niche luxury for a specific type of power user? Either way, you have to admit it's an absolutely astonishing piece of engineering. Thank you so much for joining me for this chapter-wise explainer, and I hope this deep dive helped you understand exactly what the Honor Robot phone brings to the table. Until next time, keep learning.